Welcome to this video guide to the Primary Maths Revision Day resources. First of all, thank you very much for volunteering to tutor on one of these days. This video is going to take you through the resources we've prepared, how to use them. You can pause the video, you can download this document from the website, so after each section you can have a look at each activity and make sure you're comfortable with it, or at the end you might want to review it and look through. There is a guide here, the first few pages, so please have a read through that. That's got everything I'm going to go through now, and a little bit of extra detail as well. So please read through that carefully. We've structured the day into kind of hour chunks, and that's to try and help with pupil focus and pupil engagement. It's not an absolute strict that you have to do exactly in this order, but hopefully that, as I said, that should help. A full-on day of maths is going to be quite a lot for pupils. Obviously, every school might look slightly different as well about exactly when breaks and lunch times will fall and things like that. So once you've signed up to a program, the person who's running that day will be able to get in touch and give you a bit more information about that. But let's get started with this and have a look at how we imagine the day to go. So I don't know about you, but I know when I've been in situations like this, I might be a bit nervous, or I have a bit of anticipation about what it's going to go like, and I sometimes forget the basic things like just introducing myself, making sure everyone knows everyone else's name in the group and things like that. So this first activity, 2 truths and a lie, you might have played it before. It's pretty popular with primary school pupils, seems to go down quite well. It's just a nice opportunity to get to know a little bit about the pupils you're working with, but also share a little bit about yourself as well. So it might be worth before the day having a think about what you're going to share, what your 2 truths and a lie might be. We've given some suggestions of things you might want to talk about, and then see whether the pupils want to share as well. Of course, you don't need to force them, just see how they respond. But often they do enjoy coming up with it. Just as a word of warning, they might do 2 truths and then a lie at the end, so it might be worth telling them to mix up the order to make it a bit more challenging to guess which one the lie is. So once you've done that, you know everyone's names, you remember to introduce yourself properly and all of that, we can actually get on to doing some maths. So these are the starter activities. There's a couple of pages of those. They can be done in any order. It's quite nice to let the pupils pick which one they'd like to start on. This is the tutor version, so we've put answers or guidance on this side here for all of the activities. The nice thing about them is that a lot of them can be redone with maybe a different number you're trying to get to. Here in this one you could pick a different number, in this you could find a different route through the grid, etc. So it does mean that you can come back to these later in the day if you just want to, if you're feeling like they're getting a bit frustrated, they need a 5-minute break on something, come back, have another go at one of these. But it shouldn't take too long on this. It's just, as I said, just to get introduced to the day and get them warmed up. It is, however, a revision day, so we do have to get onto a SATs paper. So this is the SATs paper. We've tried to make it look as much like the SATs paper as possible, so they get used to that and they're not intimidated by it. For their SATs, they do an arithmetic paper and 2 reasoning papers, and the paper we've put together is a reasoning paper, as the one they need to practice. This is a paper that we've put together, as I said, so it's not from the government website, it's not ones from previous years, they haven't seen these questions before, but like I said, we have tried to make it look as much as possible like a proper paper in the way it's set out, the way the marks are set out and things like that. So again, as you can see, this is your copy, so it's got tutor tips, it's got the answers written in and things. Pupils will have their own copy, obviously of blank. We will bring those copies on the day, and we'll bring the tutor resources, so you don't need to print them out and bring them along on the day. That's something that we'll sort out. So for this, what we really want to happen is make sure that the pupils are practicing things independently. So what we would recommend is allowing the pupils to, so for example, we come to this question, first question, say, okay, everyone have a go at this question by yourselves, see how you get on, and then we'll review it in a minute. So pupils have a go at the question. After they've had a go at it, they'll have a review sheet that looks like this. So in this first column here, they could just draw a little face to show how confident do they feel about that topic. Was it something they found quite easy? Did they struggle a little bit, or were they really unsure about how to answer it? Just to give a bit of an indication of how they're feeling. Excuse me. And then you can mark the question together, see how they've got on. If they've got on fine and got it right and very happy, then brilliant, that is fantastic. But it might be that they struggled a little bit and you need to review it with them. Now you've got a couple of things as well. The pupils have a review sheet. You also have a review sheet. This is to kind of do, as you can see, you've only got one column. This is to do at the end. So once you've done some review activities. So after the review sheet, you've got a review booklet. Like I said, this is something we'll bring on the day. So you can see here for question 1, we've got lots of questions right up to here, which are similar to that first question in that SATs paper. So the idea is, if they've struggled, if they've got it wrong, you can turn to this review booklet. Again, they'll have a copy which is blank. Turn to this review booklet. You can model how to do something, and then they can have a go independently again to see, to try and learn and build up their confidence in it. And then once you've gone through all those questions, they can come back to their review sheet and then again rate here how are they feeling about that type of question now. So the idea is to take it question by question and make sure that they're really understanding in depth what you're going through. So we'd prefer that you don't rush through. You don't need to finish the whole paper. It doesn't matter if you don't finish it in a day. It's better that they have a deep understanding of a few topics rather than kind of rushing through and not really understanding that well. So when you're going through these things, it's really important to try and ask open questions, asking them, why they've done something, what is it that you looked for in the question to work out what you were going to do, things like that. And that hopefully means that each topic you're going through, each question, they're getting a real good opportunity to say, this is what I don't understand, and you're getting an opportunity to put it right with them. So that's the SATs paper, and you'll come back to that throughout the day, as I said, but you can see here the SATs paper comes in almost every session of the day. But to try and break it up, we've put some other activities together, so I just want to talk through those as well. Bingo, this is a version of Bingo that you can play in small groups. So if I flick to the pupil copy of this, you can see they've got the same example grid you've got and 5 blank grids. Now the idea is they fill in a grid, so I just do one grid at a time, because you don't have to do all 5. Again, this is something you might decide to do and then come back to later on. They complete the grid, so each pupil independently writes numbers in that fit to the thing in the top of each square. So here they have to write down a number less than 40, here they have to write a square number, here they have to write an odd number. They each fill it in. They can try and get to use 2 different prime numbers, but they could use the same number twice. So they could use a number less than 40 and an odd number could be the same number. We'll come back to strategy in a minute around this. Once they've filled in their grid, one of them looks at their grid and reads out a number that they've got written down. And if another pupil has that same number written down, it doesn't have to be for the same box. It could be in any box. They can cross that off. And you keep going, just like with bingo. It's probably best to start with a row first, horizontal, vertical, or diagonal, and see who gets a row. And then if you want, you can go for a full house, or if you want, you can try another grid and do it again. As I said, it's different. Pupils can access this in different ways. So, for example, for some pupils, it might just be useful for them to go through different types of number, and we've put some definitions here for you, just because it's sometimes difficult to explain in kind of pupil-friendly language what those different types of numbers are. But, some pupils might be quite confident with that, and they can start thinking a little bit strategically about how they pick their numbers as well. It's worth keeping a record of the numbers that the pupils read out, just so you can double-check at the end. So that's the bingo. We've then got, if I go back again to here, so we've got to here. In the 3rd hour, we think it would be worth going through the SATs paper a bit more. In this 4th hour after lunch, we've put together something about exam skills. So the SATs are the first kind of major external exams that pupils will have done, and they might have lots of kind of conflicting feelings about it. So this activity is really just an opportunity to have a bit of a discussion about how they're feeling, but also about strategy, like exam strategy. Well, how do you split your time up, and other things that's useful to get them thinking about. So the way we've done this, you can see the questions here are in bold. So for example, this one here, you have 40 minutes for the whole test. How will you divide up your time? So you read out the question, and then we've come up with 3 options, which will be printed on cards and cut out. So you can see them here. These are the 3 options. So you would read out the question, and then put each card down and read it out, as well as for each one I have my own answer, because they might have their own answer, that's fine. And then you allow pupils to pick which one that they feel they want to share, or if they have their own answer, that's fine. more than one people can pick the same answer, that's fine. There's just an opportunity to start having a bit of a discussion about it. And then we've given you some advice of things to kind of mention to them or talk to about them in that discussion as well. A lot of this is about putting pupils at ease, like I said, and trying to help them deal maybe with some of the anxiety or some of the stress they feel around SATs. Okay, so again, let's go back to that structure of the day. So we've talked about the exam skills, then you'd look at the SATs paper again, and then we've put loop cards in as another activity to break up the day a little bit. So we've got 2 sets, a kind of easier set, this one here, which is just looking at 4 operations, and a more challenging set of cards as well, which are here. So if I talk first of all about the easier set and how loop cards work in general. So the idea with loop cards is you have an answer on the left-hand side and you have a question on the right-hand side. Again, these will be cut up, so you can divide them up amongst the group, give everyone a little few each. You can take some if you want, but you don't have to, it's up to you. And then somebody places a first card down. So for example, say they put this card down here, so it says 5 to 8 on the left and 81 divided by 9. Everyone then has a look through the cards they've got and see, do they have the answer to this question, the answer to 81 divided by 9. Now these, on this copy here, they're already in order, so you can see the order in which they're coming in, but obviously everyone will have their cards split up. So you look through, hopefully the person who's got 9 realises, and they put it down on the table next to this question. It's worth pausing and just saying to people, do you think that's right? Do we agree with that? And then moving on to the next one. And as you go through, you'll use all the cards, and then hopefully the last card you get back to is this one here, 741 minus 213, where the answer is this one. So it would form a loop on the table. So that's the ease. This one, like I said, is 4 operations, and then this one, just because some people's might need a bit more of a challenge, it's exactly the same idea. The orientation of the card, it looks slightly different. So you can see here it's saying I have 11, I need 5 squared, but the idea is exactly the same. These will all be cut up. So if you put this one on the table to start with, this would be the next card to go down. But they'll be mixed up for you on the day, so you don't have to cut them out or faff around with things like that. So that's the loop cards. If we go back to start again, you'd then come back to the SATs paper again, and then the reflection activity at the end of the day. So if I switch to that, that's just this sheet here, which we'll have printed out for you. And again, this is just an opportunity to have a bit of a discussion, try and wrap the day up in a kind of organised way. There's no right or wrong answers. It's also an opportunity for you to talk to them about things that you've noticed that they've done particularly well, and wish them luck both in their SATs. But I think, again, we're trying to make sure we're not adding pressure to them about that. So just in their kind of education more generally, and their next steps as they go on to secondary school. So that's all of the resources we've been through. As I said, please pause this video, go back to it, read the guide to the resources, and if you have any questions, do get in touch with us. But thank you very much for volunteering to tutor on our primary maths revision days, and we hope you really enjoy it.